What's going on, everybody? Welcome to your weekly astrology forecast for the week of March 28th through April 3rd of 2022. Astrologer Brian Scarborough here, Fixed Air Moon, keeping the collective fixed on astrology. Appreciate you all very much. Hope everybody's doing well. Looks like we're streaming. That's good. Okay, well, it is a new moon week, new moon in Aries, so that's a big deal as we get into this week. That's going to be happening Thursday evening at about 11:24 at night on the West Coast. But this week kind of starts off with an Aquarius moon, Saturn, definitely comes into Pisces, and that gets real sensitive, and then it is a dark moon, so we're seeing a lot of this Pisces season close out. So of course, yes, the vernal equinox happened, spring equinox, and Aries season kicked off with the sun coming in, but it is when we get the new moon in a sign that it's like full-on Aries cycle. So this is big. This is closing out a lot of the last 12 months, the last 12 signs that we've traveled through, and really closing out the year. And in many ways, this is almost like the real new year, the new beginnings. So we're all on the cusp here, or feeling very cuspy of like, okay, finding our identification, finding ourselves, where are we going? What are the patterns? What is our subconscious going through? What is the emotion? It's far out there, but we do have Mercury now in Aries, so this is also helping our mind identify with new beginnings, our path, our identity. I mean, there's so many things that we can start to put a name to, that we can start to put an identity towards within just the way we communicate, express, think. So this is a big help, of course. We are going to see Mercury and the Sun meet up this week. That's a big deal. And then we're going to see that new moon at 11 degrees of Aries, which is going to be conjunct Chiron at 12 degrees. So this is a very, not only is there so much ending to start new beginnings and so many patterns and very like deep psychological, emotional aspects happening. It's very sensitive, but then it comes into this very healing cycle of healing our identities. And I think that's beautiful. I think that we need it. I think we're ready for it. This is showing us to not look at ourselves as anything less than something powerful, as anything less than something strong. I think this is, when you look at Chiron, yeah, wounded healer, it can be very sensitive or vulnerable, but it's also where we hold a lot of our great power. So this is where I think a lot of people in general, especially the ones who watch this channel or watch other astrology channels or who tap into that space, tarot even, who just put the work in on themselves. This is where I think many people are going to realize they're great guides right now. And they're great guides by being themselves. This is like where there's no more hiding from yourself. There's no more pretending to be yourself. Like this is a new cycle with Chiron in the second decan of Aries and a new moon here that, this is 50 years in the making in many ways. And even more than that with Jupiter and Neptune getting very close to their conjunction, which will be just a couple weeks away on April 12th in Pisces. So these are very, mystical times for our identification, very mystical times for like defining a path for ourselves. And I think that that's very beautiful. And even our, Mercury's going to be at 9 degrees for this new moon. So it's right there in this stellium with the moon, the sun, and Chiron. We went from these stelliums in Pisces, Aquarius to now coming into Aries and still Aquarius, and of course Pisces with the conjunction with Jupiter and Neptune. But it's real juicy for empowerment. Like straight up, like really finding that Emperor card within you, finding that direction and how you're going to delegate life and not feeling wounded by life, not feeling like you can't. I think that there can be those moments that come up in life, but I think that these are times where when those come up, they are great spiritual teachers with Jupiter and Neptune, like great moments of realizing that you just have to be truly authentically yourself no matter what's presenting itself in the exterior so that you can define your mission, define your path. It's very interesting this week that we start off on Monday with Saturn, Venus, and Juno in Aquarius. This is it's a big stellium too. And of course, Juno's an asteroid, so it's not like a big major planet, but it deals with relationships, it deals with marriage, it deals with companionship, and Venus is the planet of relationships, and Saturn is like, of course, the concrete, like I've been saying. It is the structure of our relationships. And Aquarius is the individuality of each and every human and how each and every one of us is unique. It is about being unique. It is about being your true self. A lot of it is, I think, a rebellion that's taking place with the Aries energy and Aquarius. Like people are rebelling from the frequency that we could have all been in because of some kind of a program from a society or whatever it may be, parents, whatever kind of laid the framework up into this point in our life. It doesn't matter how old you are. Like, everybody's on an equal playing field right now with Aquarius too. It's not relevant. Everybody was kind of meant to find their own frequency and break away. And there's a dedication level to the value of that with Venus, to the physical aspect, and like finding different ways to approach life and to build life and to build connection with people, with relationships. So I think that this is a very defining moment, especially with an Aries new moon coming just a couple days after that conjunction. There's no more hiding from your most authentic self. There's no more hiding from your uniqueness, the frequency that you are right now. There's no more mask. There's no more playing. It's not going to work anymore. Like, you're going to see as we go through this year, and especially this week, and it might feel weird with Chiron there with the sun for that new moon, and even just the sun Chiron conjunction, Mercury Chiron. It might feel weird. It might process weird, and Aquarius is weird, but there's something about the weirdness that we all have is very special. It's very unique, and it's going to show us new ways, new insights on how to find the right relationships. So when I say there's no more faking it, pretty much wherever in our life that we've been faking our frequency to meet up for someone else's level of awareness or consciousness or way of living life or relating to life or the value of life is pretty much about to I don't think it's gonna work. And that's where Saturn will come into play in a negative way here, is that Saturn will suppress you from where your power's at. So it's like no more of that. It's like committing yourself to this high frequency, this high character, and relating that in the most pure form, and being able to create life in a better way, to build life. Like, Saturn and Venus are definitely building planets here. Venus wants to create the good thing, and Venus will dedicate to things. And that's why I think, Venus and Saturn get along pretty well, for one being a malefic and one being a benefic. Like, Venus and Saturn have an agreement here. And it's probably because of the trine with Capricorn and Taurus, right? So, and of course, Saturn is exalted in Libra, so let's not forget that. So, Capricorn's like, Saturn's like, okay, I want to build things that are stable, that are valuable and long-lasting and, balanced and fair. And, that's very Saturn and Aquarius too. It is the fairness, the win-wins. It's a true diplomat there. So this is being that diplomat for the right connections, the right mergers. A lot of it's about partnership, and we're also in Aries season. So it's kind of like the opposite of Libra, the opposite of the other. So it's a lot of it is back to, with a North Node in Taurus here, which is starting to square Saturn really intensely this week. I mean, they're going to be within a degree. So, yeah, they don't make the exact this week, but they sure do get close. Do they make the exact this week? So close. But no, it'll be next week. But it's a collective frequency shift. And that goes into relationships and who we're building with. It's very important. And I think that it comes back again to the individual with Aquarius. Aquarius always starts with the individual. It always starts with the uniqueness. And it wants to individuate and break away and do things differently. So in some ways, we're all finding new ways to relate to ourselves, which is outwardly changing the way we relate to others. And that's where the great healing's at right now, with the sun Chiron and the new moon on Chiron. That's where we're going to start to find this skeleton key to our great power, to our great identification, like kind of the reason that we are here right now. In many ways, it feels to me like we're at this point now where, with a nodal T-square to Saturn in Aquarius to Venus, which we will see the Venus square this week, and then Mars is coming next week right after, as Mars is going to meet with Saturn. These are big breakaway moments with so many things, especially relationships with Juno about to square the nodes too and Venus. Like, you can't make this up. So we're starting to see where really positive relationships are going in our life, that are on the same frequency, that I think are built around freedom. Because that's one thing too about Aries, Aquarius. There's a freedom aspect here. So it's definitely not about this sort of constriction, or where are we getting restricted from being our most authentic self, or where are we not able to be vulnerable or be real. Those are the things that we can't hide from those anymore. So it's a big, like, that's where the healing's going to come this week, is how well you're living a life that is empowering yourself. And if you're not living a life that's empowering yourself, you're going to have to break away. And that's the commitment. And that's where you're going to build positive things with positive people instead of these slippery slopes. Because I think karmically, we've already learned, we've almost dealt with a lot of our like human 3D karma. Of course, there's always going to be karma. It doesn't end, but this feels like this is the final breakaway of some of that very like dense stuff that we all had to work through. Like, we're all kind of hitting this breaking point. And now we're coming into more of Dharma, which I've talked about Dharma in the past, but I feel like we are in very dharmic times right now, which, of course, Dharma would be more like the purpose of why we came here, instead of like the lessons that we learn while we're here, which is more karma, which karma can go both ways. It's not that karma's bad. Karma gets such a negative rap. Like, it's just cause and effect, right? So, and I tend to believe that since we were all born with a Pluto South Node in Capricorn, that we've all done some pretty shady, controlling, manipulative things to each other in the past lives. And that's why we come back and we have to deal with these things. And nobody's an angel here. We're all learning lessons. But there's something about the planet of karma. There's something about the 12th house, which is Pisces, with Jupiter and Neptune there, that there is this spiritual freeing that's coming right now, but you have to be willing to break out. You have to be able to be a revolutionary. You have to be able to start going into a new way, into a new ideal of life that is committed around some of this Aries new moon stuff and Chiron. Some of this finding empowerment, finding your way, defining your life, knowing who you are and why you came here. And I think anybody right now who's feeling like they came here for a purpose, or feeling like they're here for a reason, these people are going to do much better. And people might not want to hear that, but that's where this is a sensitive time for people who still don't know who they are. So this is the week where we find out who we are. We can break away from anything that's holding us back from that, but we have to be strong. We have to be a warrior. Aries is Mars. This is warrior mentality. And with Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces, this is spiritual warrior time. Big time. To get out of karma, to get into Dharma, and to start treating life and the frequency of your life at a higher level, and to go about that 100%, and to not play down into someone else's frequency or wave of life, or society's wave of life. Like, it's time to stop messing with those games. And that's a hard one, because the games are different for all of us. Like, sure, you could say, well, there's games that we all play. Well, yes, but it's more simple, because it's more talking about you. I am Aries right now. So, there's a theater going on in the world, but focus on your life right now and to take the steps that empower you and stop playing low-level aspects of life. Where is somebody manipulating you? South Node in Scorpio. Where is somebody trying to take what you have or suck your energy, or have you commit to them and not give yourself the right amount of self-love? And there's like energy suckers out there in the world right now. And I think that's part of the karmic tests of Saturn square the nodes. We are freeing ourselves from that South Node, from Pluto at this last bit of Capricorn, which is definitely governments. There's always going to be governments. It's not necessarily like, oh, I'm just going to secede from the government. But it's a new way of playing society's games that match your frequency. These are things that that every one of us have to figure out for ourselves. I'm not going to give you some black and white statement of how this looks. There is unbound potential with Jupiter and Neptune in Pisces right now. You got to crack into your unbound potential and be that warrior and play your game at a higher level, at a different pace than you've been playing it your entire life before now. And I feel like I can already see people being like, well, I've been spiritual for 14 years now, and I've been just going at it in this certain way. Well, even that, it's like you got to look at that and be like, well, how far did that get you? Did it get you what you ultimately wanted? Are you feeling bliss and happiness? Are you at this frequency that you want every day? It's because it's just the little things that you need to identify with and pinpoint right now. And that's the Aries too, like pinpoint things so that you can start the things that you really want by cutting away certain aspects that are no longer on this vibrational match. And that's where the good creation is going to be. I remember like North Node Taurus, it's disposited by Venus. Venus is with Saturn square the nodes. It's squaring the nodes. Like we have to start doing things different. Aquarius is different. It's things we'd never thought of before. If we thought we had every little puzzle piece or every little thing figured out, well, guess what? We're learning still, and that's where things are going to be so obvious. And Aries even rules the head, so it's like the first thing that shows, it's impulse too. It's like their impulse is starting this week, and you're going to get the rush. And you need to act on that rush. And Mars is meeting with Saturn too, coming into next week, and this is good. This is like, where's the rush, and are you ready to commit to it? And that's where Aries can struggle, because it'll start things, but it won't necessarily finish. But then we're going to come into Taurus season and get eclipses. And that's where we're going to be able to hold on to the right things that we do value, but we're going to have to figure out in different ways what that looks like when it comes to people and connections. And this is the start to that. So it's a very important week. And with a dark moon in Pisces, that is not easy. That is extremely sensitive. That's an extreme deep dive into all of our emotions and all of our sensitivities and all of our bad habits and all of our subconscious patterns. And we have to figure out how to close those cycles out as we close this Pisces lunation so that we can come into a sense of more compassion and more bliss, but also the empowerment of self that we need to have right now. That's the healing potion. That's the magic sauce with Chiron. But it's not like fun necessarily. It's making the big decisions to hold yourself at a higher value in society or in the tribes or with the people in your life or the relationships that are on that level of identification of life with you. And it's doing things differently to get to that place. But it's good because we need it and we're ready for it and we're here for it. So I'll show you guys a couple charts and hopefully that's helpful. This is the new moon, Thursday at 11:24 p.m. on the west coast of the United States of America. 11 degrees. And Chiron's right there at 12 degrees. And Mercury's right there at 9. So this is quite the assembly. And even Eros is right there at 18, which the sun and moon are going to meet. Well, the moon's going to meet with on Friday. And then the sun's going to be there in a little over a week. And Mercury's going to head that way too. So there's still a lot about these powerful identifications of relationships and love. But it's from a more empowering place. It's from knowing who you are and not wavering, not letting other people push you around, which is very South Node Scorpio. So we're finding new ways to empower ourselves and start making moves. And it's important too with Saturn and Juno now past Saturn, Venus past Saturn by this, making the squares to the nodes as well, that there's a heavy karmic spiritual focus on this Aquarian energy going into a new frequency, going into a future, kind of full on disconnection or full on connection, and it's got to be that impulsive, like, hell yes, this is a connection. And if it's not, it's like, you know it. And are you going to keep playing with the people that are holding you back, that are using your energy, that are using your power, that are manipulating you, that are controlling you? There's so much about breaking free right now as a collective. It's so important. And even if it's not about the big world or the governments, like, this is about you breaking out of anything that's suppressing your identification of who you are right now. And you know it and you feel it, and you this is where the most powerful beginnings in your life can start. And Jupiter and Neptune are so close to their conjunction on the 12th, as this is the final day of March, the 31st, that you have to be willing right now to see all the unlimited potential that you can create and alchemize, but you have to also be willing to dedicate and pursue and go after a different, better way for you without slipping into the past. And I think that it's difficult. It's always difficult. Like, it's not always difficult, but it is difficult because Pluto's in Capricorn at places we've never lived through before. And it just seems like the game is harder than ever. Like, society's harder than ever. It's steeper than ever. It's rough. Like, there's so many things, right? Like, if you look out in the world and in society, gas prices, rent prices, the government's a shit show. Like, there's so many things trying to basically show you that no, no, not an option. You gotta break out of that. This is new ways of believing, new ways of trusting and surrendering, that if you identify with what you need right now, with what's going to empower you, with what's going to kickstart you into a new way, that it's going to show up and you're going to start building it and you're going to start making it happen. It's pretty wild that Venus is now at 25 by this new moon, because it's within 30 degrees, less than 30 degrees of Jupiter and Neptune. So we're getting ready next week to have Venus come into Pisces, and we're going to have the 3 strongest planets in Pisces together, which is straight up magic, but it's also a complete shit show. And it makes the shit show stronger than ever, especially as we get ready for eclipses. Like, remember, this is the last new moon before eclipses. Eclipse season starts April 30th with a new moon in Taurus. It's not a joke, so by the time we get here, we are 30 days, 29 days away from a crazy thing when it comes to money, finances, physical reality, and an unstable reality with Uranus there too. And Uranus, getting ready to come to 13, is getting very, very close to 15, and Jupiter's getting very, very close to 0 Aries. So this is a very important new moon because it's breaking you out of past habits. It's breaking you out of subconscious things that keep you trapped in a control system, whether it's bigger than that or whether it's something in your life that's controlling you or another person. This is about new ways to commit to yourself and new ways to be a revolutionary for your life and to be in the driver's seat. Aries is the driver's seat, right? So I think it's very important. And it's no coincidence that's at 11 degrees, because that is Chiron to me. So it's already a very sort of healing new moon, and it's with Chiron, the wounded healer, but the great philosopher, the great guide to all the great, Greek legends. This is where legends are being born. I'm not even kidding. Some people are going to watch this and be like, this guy's crazy. Legends are being born right now because it's just that time of life. Nothing is what it was before. Nothing is what it seemed to be. This is a new you. You could say that a new moon in Aries is always a new you, but this is big because it's not like any one we've ever seen before. Tell me the last time you were alive that you saw Neptune and Jupiter 2 degrees away from each other in Pisces for a new moon. Or tell me the last time you saw a new moon conjunct Chiron with Mars and Saturn, Venus and Juno together in Aquarius, or Pluto at 28 Capricorn. Tell me. Show me. This is a big deal. And this is where the South Node in Scorpio can have us wanting to try to play it safe in some ways. Like, oh, I feel... Because that's the thing with Scorpio too, right? Because Scorpio's intense. It's powerful. But it'll hold on to security. And that's why the moon is at fall position in Scorpio. That's why Venus is at detriment in Scorpio. Because all the good things and all the comforts in life, we will try to hold on to. And we will get so emotionally attached and be like, I'm so comfortable right here. Even though it's not comfortable anymore. But we're scared to let go. And that's where the cataclysmic event will show up in life. To rip something away. Because it's been graduated from. Scorpio is to me like the graduation. Like that's dead. That's past. It's time to evolve. It's time to have that transformation moment where you no longer need that thing that you think you needed, or that person that you thought you needed, or that you couldn't live without. That's why, when people cheat on each other or break up with someone for another person, people feel abandoned. They feel completely broken. That's Scorpio. I needed you. I felt so good. But we got to remember that it deals with other people too in the merger. And sometimes mergers in life break. And maybe that's with relationships, or maybe that's just with certain things that we attach ourselves to that we feel so comfortable in. But ultimately, we're at a place where you know damn well what's comfortable for you and what isn't, and you can sense it. And that's another thing with Jupiter and Neptune. We can feel everything. People are more empathic, psychic than ever before. And that can also be to our detriment, because we can also in some ways have a delusion based around that and think that because we're staying in something and it feels right, that it's not right, and then we get the disillusionment as this breaks apart. So it's pretty wild. And then the fact that we have Poseidon at 15 degrees retrograde in Scorpio, and it's going to come back to about 14, but Uranus is starting to oppose that trans-Neptunian planet, and that's a big deal. And I think that too, with the semi-square to 0 Libra and the semi-square to Capricorn, is another big moment for our enlightenment of realizing that we have to find balance and we have to commit, or we're never going to reach a higher spiritual level. But it's about committing to a different frequency. It's about trying new things that make sense, about being smart, and really just being powerful, and having that surrender and that faith too, that if you are powerful and strong and you do make decisions right now, because that's again how Libra and Capricorn can get along, is by making decisions to balance and bring harmony, and to define and to go build something and commit to the balance, and to not commit to things that are out of balance. So there is quite a lot happening. And with Uranus starting to oppose that in Taurus, it's more of that energy of like, we have to take a different stairway in life right now. Like really change physical world, physical reality, physical existence, physical value, relationships, people. And the way that we hold ourselves, and the way that we look at ourselves, and the way that we feel like we can commit to ourselves, and to look at ourselves as powerful beings that came here to create, and that came here to let go of an old world so that we can create a new one. I don't want to get all new agey and woo-woo on you, but look at that world out there. Do we not want to start trying to come together in some ways here, which is very Aquarius too? With this T-square, do we not want to come together as people and humans of this reality, and start figuring out a better way, a more enlightened way, a more spiritual way, because Poseidon's very enlightened. It's very spiritual. To connect and build together? Or are we seriously going to keep letting a few people in this world dictate and build a reality for us? Or are we going to start being the architects of this reality? And I think that's even Mars square the nodes, is we got to be willing to let that go so that we can build something much, much better. Like Uranus and Taurus isn't all that bad. Yeah, it's an unstable reality, but it's definitely trying to always take us higher. Like we got to build something better together. And it can't just be one person. Like that's Aquarius too. It's like all for one for all. So eventually we're going to get to that point. I don't think we're there yet, but this is the empowering moment as individuals, where if you realize how powerful you are and you can see the power in another person, that you can merge those powers in a healthy way to build. So that's where the South Node in Scorpio can help us, is because if we are creating new, beautiful, empowering, sturdy relationships, then those are the most powerful mergers in our life. And that's where the frequency is full on connected and things can go higher, farther, faster, better, like to a whole new world that we've never seen before. And that's really where we're going. And even Black Moon Lilith is floating around Cancer and Gemini, and it's like, okay. Kind of a strange place for Lilith, because there's this like, we kind of just have to trust our gut and like do the things that make us feel good, and not just be Black Moon Lilith in Cancer reminds me, what's a good one for this? It reminds me of like having all the goods and all the ability to nurture and take care and love yourself, but not wanting to do it. And we're at this new moon place with Chiron in Aries, and it's like you have to love and nurture and take care of and pump yourself up so that you can project from the inside out a new projection of reality. Because Cancer to me is very much like, it's very ego oriented to me too. It's like the movie that only you see. So like Aries is sure like the I am presence, but Cancer's like the feeling backed behind the I am. It's only you feel what you feel. Like sure, people can say, oh, I feel you, you know, but nobody knows exactly how you're feeling. Nobody will ever see the world through your eyes, and that's Cancer. So that's where we all have these unique experiences. And I think that that's where we can find this powerful Black Moon Lilith of realizing that, yeah, you know, I want to see a different world. I want to create a different world. I want to nurture a new world into existence right now, a new life for myself, new comforts into my life, new valuable situations with people or friends or home or whatever it may be. But we have to be in this place where we're ready to break away and do that as well. You know, and the healing has to come through our mind too. It has to be mental. You know, it's finally Mercury's getting ready this week to catch up with the sun, and you know, some people call it a cazimi. I just call it a Sun-Mercury conjunction, or even you could call it Mercury combust by the sun. But from a helio perspective, if this is the sun, then this is Earth and this is Mercury. So really, they're in opposition to each other. And when Mercury's retrograde is a cazimi, because Mercury's floating around. You get that line out. But whatever, call it what you want. This is where our mind is finally caught up with our heart, the sun, and that great identifying light within us to empower ourselves. And Mercury's done a lot. It's met with Pluto. It retrograded with Pluto, met with Mars, met with Saturn, met with Venus, met with Jupiter, met with Neptune. We have got so many messages up until this point about a new way forward, and trusting our gut on the matter and trusting our feeling, and now bringing that into our mental clarity and this powerful defining mind of trusting that. And it's going to meet with Chiron right after. So it's time. And this is halfway between Mercury retrogrades, by the way, too. So, we're getting ready for a Mercury retrograde that's going to happen in Gemini coming up here. So I just think that this is one of those weeks that is not like by any means a bad week. I think it's such an empowering and healing week for many, many people that are ready to go on that journey to self-empowerment and to start building connections and to start building life based upon that. And there's a surrender to what once was, and there's a surrender to the new. It is this precipice where I feel like behind us is the known world and in front of us is the black kind of infinite abyss of creative potential. And we just have to be willing to take a step off that. And I've used that analogy before, but it constantly is coming up when I'm doing this because that's where I really feel like we're at. Because there's nothing in that old world anymore. It's getting blown up. Figuratively and possibly literally coming up soon. Maybe not. But something's blowing up here in some fashion. I don't know how it's going to go, but there's definitely an explosion coming. I'll tell you that much. And I talked about that on the weekend forecast if you want to check that out and look at why I think that. So there's just not a lot of crazy aspects too, because everything is so condensed. Like we have a lot of conjunctions, so we have a lot of energy that's together, but I mean, literally, like here's the nodes and everything's on one side of the nodes, so it's just so lopsided. We are out of balance, but we're searching for that balance point in our own identified way. And then even just Pluto to the sun, which Mercury is going to pass the sun, but it's just like everything is just right here. Oh. It's not a lot. We're looking at, almost a little bit more than the sextile. We're looking at 70 degrees of like all the major planets. And sure, like Uranus is over here in Taurus, but damn, like all the personal planets, everything is just smashed in there, which I think is extremely powerful. But it can also feel like there's no room for change. That's one thing, stelliums and conjunctions and big assemblies of planets like that. Like it can feel like there's no room. Everything's smashed together. So we're in a place of like feeling like we're being smashed together, but that's where it can feel like a lot of pressure, but these pressures can create diamonds. Super empowering, powerful diamonds that you are. And that's where I think this new moon is like the rocket fuel to what that is in your life to you and how you can lead forward with that, with the right connective forces, the right connective elements with people. There is ways right now to make things happen. There's unlimited creative potential, but there's also an extreme sense of feeling lost or feeling too trapped to make a move. And this is the next lunar cycle here where every start that you could have possibly ever wanted is an option. But there's going to be so much just trying to hold you away from that. And I think that that's where you're going to feel the most wounded, is when you're not taking the initiative in life to get what you want and you're feeling like you can't, or you're playing a victim or a martyr. This is not the time. This is own up to your power. This is own up to you came here for a reason. Your I am came here to create. No matter what happens in this world. I think it's interesting to look at these scores. Why isn't this working? Okay. Guess Maybe my keyboard died. I don't know. But look at these scores. Like, this is an empowering new moon. +3 with the moon, +5 with the exalted sun in Aries, +1 Mercury, Venus +2, Mars +3, and Aquarius with Saturn +8, Jupiter +8. Oh man, look at that. And Jupiter's beating out Saturn with Neptune in Pisces. It's a time to dream. It's amazing. I don't know why my hotkeys just stopped working. Like, I just used it and then just no. Okay. All right, I'm done. So many doors are open right now if you're willing to identify with the I am that you are and empower yourself and to define a direction in life. It's wow. It's amazing. So there's no more playing in a frequency that isn't of the I am that you came here to play in, and it's not going to be that hard. You're going to find out that it's super easy, and that you just have to switch stories right now and believe in things that you probably never believed were possible if you actually want them to be possible, and start letting like God work its beautiful magic. I said it, but it's like whatever. Like, I don't know what the sex is of God. Like, just let God work its infinite creative potential magic, because you are creating that, because you are identifying with the magic within you, and you are alchemizing your reality, and you're creating a better, higher frequency that isn't about obsession, that isn't about lack, that isn't about all these things that keep us stuck, but it's about realizing how powerful of a creator you are. And you can create the relationships you want. You can create the money situations you want and the value situations you want. But you got to own that about you and know that you are here to do it and can and will, and nothing's going to stop you. And I'm sending you all my love and best, and I will pull one. I'll pull one or two cards, and then I'm going to hop to the weekly tarot. But I appreciate you all, and I hope this was helpful. Eight of Swords. This is the card where we literally hold ourselves back. Those ropes look very, you could probably slip out of those ropes. She doesn't look like she's bound that tight, right? So this is where in our own mind, we keep ourselves stuck. We keep ourselves held back, and we don't go for something that we ultimately want. We want to play, I don't see it, or I couldn't possibly wiggle out. You got to empower yourself right now to change that perception of getting what you want and making life happen for you, and not waiting for life to happen for you, but creating life and making it happen for you. So I think our mind's just like, we just got to snap out of it, like break out. It's definitely breakout times with Saturn, Venus, Mars squaring the nodes. It's Aquarius. Like, this is rebelling from anything in life that isn't on your frequency, that doesn't, vibe with your individuality, with your uniqueness. Don't hold yourself back right now. Six of Pentacles in reverse, like, this is like giving too much away when you don't have enough to give. Like, give to yourself right now. If you have enough to give, but this is where we got to give to ourselves and empower ourselves, and we can't just play the great philanthropist in life, Some people can, but right now I think is more individual. Like, make sure you're good and you have your bases covered for what you really want to create, and you'll be able to dish it out when the time comes. But focus on what you need and breaking out of your own, patterns. And the Five of Pentacles in reverse. It's going to get us out of feeling like some sense of poverty or we're feeling like just God, the Five of Pentacles sucks, but reversed, it's like we're getting out of the cold. We're coming into some warmth. We're gonna start creating and moving in that direction that's going to start building life in a way that ultimately makes sense. But we have to do that before we just give, and things aren't balanced out. Queen of Swords in reverse. You have to pick a direction. You have to be strong right now. You have to know who you are and stop acting like you don't know. You know, time to just own it and define it. And, that could take some cold conversation with people. It could take cold conversation with yourself. It could take you being a cold ass bitch to yourself to break you out of something in life right now that's just a story that we tell ourselves that's restrictive and not empowering. So, I love y'all very much. Have a beautiful week. I'll see you very soon for the weekly tarot and Monday's horoscope. And I hope you have a great week. I think there's a lot to look forward to. So, sending you all my best. Bye-bye.